Good morning, Unity Northwest Church. It is wonderful to see you here today. This is Reverend Elizabeth Mora, the senior minister of the church. And it's a really great morning to see you. Disclaimer for today, our air conditioning is out. It's going to be replaced. And in the meantime, it's really warm in here. So you may see a fan blowing my hair. I just wanted you to know, it's not a model shoot here this morning. It's just a little bit warm at Unity Northwest Church, located in my home at the moment. It is fantastic that you have taken time out of your busy week to be with us today. And I wanted to give a special welcome to all of you who are watching here live right now. And if you are watching sometime in the future, if you are one of our video watchers on YouTube or on Facebook, or if somebody sent you a link to our service today, whenever it is that you are watching us, we're so grateful to have you. We consider you part of our church community. Thank you for keeping your divine appointment. It really is a divine appointment on a Sunday when there are a few things that you can do, not everything you used to be able to do, but there are some things that you could be doing this morning and you choose to be with us. And I am so grateful for that. I've also come up with pajama church. Who doesn't have time to go to pajama church? You didn't even have to get dressed. You didn't have to put on your Sunday best, and here you are with us. So thanks for coming to pajama church. And let's go ahead and pray in. We welcome this moment. We welcome the next 45 minutes or so to be a conscious choice for us to grow in consciousness. Take a moment and realize that you have made a choice to be here. You have said, I'm going to continue on this path, and I'm going to be part of a community that continues to come together online until the time when we meet in person, and that we continue to extend out to all those who will be watching us online well into the future, that we are not limited by the building and if we come into physical contact, but we are all connected through our hearts in whatever way we come together for Unity Northwest Church. We dedicate this time now to loving each other and to letting that love grow from within us out into the world. In this summer of love, to be more love, to know more love, to get in connection with all the love that resides within us, an unending source of love and compassion. And for those moments when we forget, we have moments like this, where we come back together to remember. Let this be a time of remembering our magnificence and the love that we feel for everyone. And so it is. Amen. Let's check in and see who we've got with us here on Pajama Church. I always like to remind folks that, as you are here with us, please say hi in the comments section. Let us know that you're here, whether it's on this Sunday in August or any other time that you watch. It's really great to see who's been watching videos over time. So say hi right now if you're watching, that's great. Who knows, someone who's been thinking about you may see your name pop up and say, there they are. That's how we keep community and connection going while we're not able to be together. Say hi in the chat box and feel free to comment back and forth to each other. And I will pop up some of our hellos that we get from folks. It's also a way throughout the service, if something goes a little hinky, you can let me know by sending me your comments. And we've got Tatiana, who is our fantastic pianist, and we're going to hear some new music from her next week. We got together to record. We have wonderful Yolanda. Jeanette never comes as just Jeanette. She has always got a crowd with her. And Kat's joining by phone. Joan fell again, a fluke accident, and is resting. So Joan, we send out our love to you. Poor thing. She has had a rough couple of weeks, and our love and our hearts go out to Joan, and we see her healing and back with us next week. Hello, Chris and Jerry and Anita, the new grandmother, showing her beautiful little grandbaby on Facebook if you haven't seen it. Karen and Mary, and lots of hearts. Wonderful to have you with us. And thank you. They donated a wonderful bookshelf and a couple of chairs to the church. Thank you for letting us have that. And we've got a good morning from some folks. And Pat, it's great to see you on. Another Jeanette. One Jeanette's not enough. Cindy Florsheim, yay. She's had a couple things going on in her world. Cindy, I'm so glad that you are with us. And Tim, Carol sends her blessings. Anne is from her outdoor balcony. Very exciting that she's got Wi-Fi. Ruth and Dallas, they usually come in a pair, but I know you do separate out at times. And B, it's great to see her. B is here, but she's fully dressed. So B is not in her pajamas. I am not in my pajamas either. I am actually, fully dressed. Okay. Oh gosh. Prayer for Joan. Tracy says she's not getting any audio. I'm sorry to hear that, Tracy. It looks like that's on your end. So go ahead. Of course, she's not hearing me. So let me type something. Hey, Tracy, we have sound. So check your end. All right. And I'll put that up there so that she can see that. Okay. And Don says hello, to everyone out there. Hello, Love that picture of Don. So thank you, and continue to check in, and I'll pop over a little bit later. It's wonderful to see you all. Keep the comments coming. Also share what we put out on Facebook. You can share this Sunday message with your friends and what we post throughout the week. And you can start a Facebook watch party right now if you want. And now we're going to share our daily word, which today is one of those days where it matches perfectly with what we're going to be talking about. Sometimes I read something a little bit different, but today, this daily word is made for what we are about. So sit back, fully clothed or in pajamas, and enjoy today's daily word, Sunday, August 2nd, 2020. Compassion. I am kind and compassionate. Seeking to grow in compassion, I look to the example of Jesus. Gospel stories give many examples of Jesus showing compassion by demonstrating keen awareness of the needs and feelings of friends and strangers alike. I remember learning that Jesus did not turn away from social outcasts. He healed them and shared meals with them. His compassion fed a multitude and restored wine to a wedding reception. Upon learning that his dear friend had died, Jesus wept. Even when his disciples deserted him as he was crucified, Jesus asked God to forgive them. As I grow in compassion, I know that my kind words and even simply my loving presence provides comfort. I listen deeply with my heart as well as my ears. Let each of you look not to your own interests, but to the interests of others. Philippians 2:4. Compassion. Just the message that we needed to go along with our service today. Compassion. So we will have more on that in a little bit. Continuing on to greet those of you who are here, since we aren't extending hands and hugging each other. Hello to Richard. It's great to know Cindy's going to be out of rehab. So we keep those prayers coming for you, Cindy. And B says, yay for you, Cynthia. Do well. Yes. All right. And now we're going to go ahead and move on into our time of meditation. And so I invite you to get centered. And as I fix what I've done, give me a moment to fix our presentation. One little click of the button sends me where I don't want to go. And then it takes about 4 clicks to come back. And now I'm back where I need to be. A time for meditation for all of us. I see you all getting centered right where you are. You may sit just a little bit taller, bring some energy to the spine, and choose where you want to set your hands today. Generally, face up brings energy, and palms down calms energy. Only you know what will serve you best. And as we begin this meditation, noticing the body, tall, alert, and also relaxing perhaps the shoulders or the jaw. As we gently close our eyes or find a soft focus, we become still on the inside and present to the breath. I notice my breath instantly coming to me. I am connected with everyone in this service this morning and in the future, finding this still small space where I connect with my awareness of God. I focus on my breath. And I allow whatever comes up to come up. I let the breath be at the pace that it is. I may notice thoughts come and go. And all I do is notice, bless them, let them go. This is the process. This is meditation. I greet myself fully. I am one with the breath, breathing in, breathing out. I breathe in love. I breathe out compassion. I breathe in love. Breathe out compassion. Breathe in and out into a moment of silence. This is the peace that passes all understanding. This is the deep peace of my soul, always accessible, always giving to me. I have a well filled with love, And as soon as I turn my attention, I am filled. And for this time to be together with people from Unity Northwest, I'm so grateful. There is a power in this coming together. And I'm so grateful for the calm and the peace that I can access that will help me during my week with my relationships, interactions, and with myself. This calm peace is mine. And so it is. Amen. We have a few more good mornings. Folks letting Cindy know that they're so glad that she's going to be able to go home soon. Tracy, don't give up. She had to go out and come in 3 times till she got her sound problem. Okay. Yeah, boy, there's a message for us. Resilience in staying on Sunday Facebook. Thanks for sticking with it, everybody. Hi, Molly. Hi, Oliver. And we've got some advice from Anne. Go to the bottom right corner of the video, click and drag the sound up. Excuse me while I get something out of my eye. Yes, it may be the Facebook bar. You may have sound set, but your Facebook may be taking over for you and letting you know that, and the Bostons are online. Well, now we are complete, and let us know how those chocolate chip cookies were. I remember chocolate chip cookies. The Gifts of Imperfection. Share the beauty of all of you. We're talking about imperfection in a church, no less. Imperfection? Really? Could you imagine sharing the hardest thing that ever happened to you? Can you imagine being bold enough to take whatever was the hardest, perhaps the most embarrassing thing, the thing that you don't want anyone else to know? Can you imagine what it would take to share that with one person or with a group of people? Imagine, if you will, sharing the hardest thing in your life on a YouTube video that the world could see. Think about for a moment difficult things that you've gone through, maybe even not the most difficult thing that's happened to you, but something that you wouldn't want people to know. It's not the thing that you introduce yourself with at a cocktail party. This happened to me, or I did this. And that is what you share. Maybe hard to imagine doing that. And that is what John did in 2003. He shared his story of the Manhattan Bridge, and that while his life had been going fantastic, he had just made a huge profit, he had just landed his dream job, he was suffering from depression. And even though everything in the outside world was fantastic, John was at the bottom in 2003, and he walked out onto the Manhattan Bridge and he jumped. He survived. He was broken and bruised. Every rib in his body had been broken, and he survived. And he got treatment, and he came back to his life and has continued on. And he had the courage a number of years ago to tell his story of attempting suicide at a TEDx talk. And that's what JD did. A friend of mine that I've mentioned to you before, he actually went on to TEDx and shared his story of attempting to commit suicide. Can you imagine sharing that kind of a story? And it's so fantastic that now he does share that story. And it doesn't mean that he's any less of a wonderful person than he was before. You know that. If anything, hearing his story makes him more of an amazing person. And what JD did when he shared that story is he was living the teachings that we're talking about right now from Brene Brown, the Gifts of Imperfection. Suicide certainly would be something that we would think is not a perfect thing, and yet it's a gift that many people experience and walk through, and some don't find the gift and some do. We each walk through difficult times. And if we can spend time when we have the energy and the wherewithal to work on growing this consciousness, this love, this compassion for ourselves, we will be in better shape whatever we go through. JD's story is one of courage, compassion, and connection. He showed all three things when he shared that story. Talk about courage. I think that's pretty obvious. Self-compassion. He had to come to some place of self-compassion to be able to share that out in the world and the risk that that would be for him. And then connection. By being connected to others around him and to the world, and by caring, the compassion and the connection, he knew that he had to share the story. And when you read the comments on the YouTube site, they're just heart expanding, because so many people wrote and said, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you. I thought I was the only one. No one talks about this. There's such a stigma about it. And JD shared it. And that is, again, what we call one of the Gifts of Perfection, the book that we are looking at. And the gift of perfection is about living a wholehearted life. And we mentioned that last week. We said wholehearted living. And that's something that we aspire to here. It's about engaging your life from a place of worthiness. That's a unity message. That's a positive Christianity message, that we are not broken and sinful, that we are perfectly divine and human. And we cultivate courage, compassion, connection. Take those 3 C's into your life: courage, compassion, connection. To say this about ourselves: no matter what gets done and how much is left undone, I am enough. We all have a to-do list that's dangling at the base of our brain. But we are enough, no matter what. And when we end our day, we say, yes, I'm imperfect and vulnerable and sometimes afraid and, probably cranky and silly and all sorts of things. But that doesn't change the truth that I am also brave and worthy of love and belonging. I am a whole mess of things, and I am a whole pile of wonderful things. I am all of these things fully, and I embrace all of it in wholeness. Courage, connection, and compassion. And when you think that maybe that's not as true for you, I think about a story that Byron Katie told. So she's a famous writer and a self-help guru and someone that I really admire. And she shared how her inbox every day is overflowing. Can you imagine the stories that she hears? And she said, I have to go to bed at night knowing that I've done enough. I can never get to all the emails, and I have to trust that there is someone else in that person's life, that there is a wisdom within them. Whatever it is that I think that I've left undone, I am still enough. Because we live in a time where to-do lists don't get to done. They are not to done. We continue with them. That's the amazing time that we live in. There are so many opportunities that we need the courage, compassion, and connection to move us through. Brene Brown showed up on Oprah a few times. She had some wonderful things to share. So let's listen to the author in her own words about courage and compassion and being authentic. This week, we're talking about authenticity, one of my favorite words.
And so, cultivating authenticity.
Battery 5. Connected to MacBook Pro. And I found 2.
That's the first one. Let's talk about that.
It's so hard. I thought doing this research.
And so, cultivating authenticity, letting go of what people think. That's the first one. Let's talk about that.
It's so hard. I thought doing this research, I thought going into it, there were authentic people and inauthentic people.
Mm-hmm.
I did not find any evidence of that at all. What I found is authenticity is a practice, and you choose it every day, sometimes every hour of every day. And it's a practice. It's not, I just wake up and, hey, I'm authentic. It's that when you walk into a meeting, you have to choice. Am I going to show up and let myself be seen? Am I going to raise my hand and say, wow, y'all look super excited. I don't know what in the hell you're talking about. I'm so lost. That's a choice.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And to make that authentic choice, you got to let go of
the fakeroo, I say.
Yeah.
I call it the fakeroo. But you know what? I have found, I consider myself to be an authentic person, but when I am inauthentic is when I've allowed myself to be around people who were not, and then I have to fake it to be with them.
Oh, for sure. It's contagious.
Yes. So they're faking it.
Yeah.
And you're in that situation when you do that, that kind of, you're laughing at jokes that aren't funny. You're pretending to be comfortable when you're not, and lose your own authenticity.
Yeah, and I do it.
So letting go of what people think. Okay, cultivating self-compassion, letting go of perfectionism, because there is no such thing.
No, this was, first of all, that this is what led, these 10 guideposts that emerged from the research is
Yes.
what led to the breakdown.
Yes.
Like, this did not make me happy.
Because you were like 2 out of the 10.
I was 2 out of the 10, and I was cheating.
And you're writing the book.
Right. And so I had to put the data away. I didn't write the book until I was in therapy for a year and a half.
Wow.
And I went to a therapist with an Excel spreadsheet that said, here are the things that I need more of. I've got 6 weeks. Go.
Fix me.
She said, yeah. But no, so here's what I learned about.
I love that you went to a therapist that sees therapists.
Yeah.
And that you started out by saying, look, I just want to be fixed. And I don't want to talk about that mother stuff and all that.
No childhood BS.
No childhood BS. Let's just get to it.
Tips and techniques, baby. Bullet points. Bullet point me. Save me.
Tell me what to do.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
So perfectionism, what emerged for me in the data was that perfectionism is not about striving for excellence or healthy striving, which I'm for.
Yeah.
It's a cognitive behavioral process, a way of thinking and feeling that says this: if I look perfect, do it perfect, work perfect, and live perfect, I can avoid or minimize shame, blame, and judgment.
You know what I thought when I was reading this? I had another aha.
2 people.
This was my other aha. That perfectionism, I never gotten this before until I read this, that perfectionism is the ultimate fear, that the people who are walking around as perfectionists, who have to have everything that they are ultimately afraid that the world is going to see them for who they really are, and they won't measure up.
There's no question. That's what it is.
That's correct, right?
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fear.
Because it's very different than trying to be excellent and working hard and doing your best. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I call perfectionism the 20-ton shield. We carry it around thinking it's going to protect us from being hurt.
Yeah.
But it protects us from being seen.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know people. Yeah.
Yeah. And so perfectionism, the 20.
Authenticity. It's a little bit funny that as she wrote this book, I don't know if you caught that she talked about the breakdown, that she has a spiritual breakdown and breakthrough by realizing that she wasn't living authentically and that perfectionism was running her life. So think about the times when you listen to Oprah and Brene talking about that. Where are the times where you show up, walk into a room, walk into a party, or find yourself in a conversation and you realize that you've not been yourself, that you were afraid to be who you really were and to use your voice? That's where we lose ourselves. We lose our authentic self, and we start being fakeroo, so that we don't cause any troubles, that there is no wave of upset. There was a woman that I worked with years ago, and she would sit in meetings and almost never say anything. But after the meeting, she would tell me everything. Perhaps you know this person, right? They come out after the meeting, they've got all sorts of thoughts and ideas, and she was upset about this or that, but she never spoke up. And I asked her, why don't you say something when we're in these meetings? That was a great idea. I wish you'd shared that. That could have really helped us in that conversation. You have so much wisdom. And she said, I'm too afraid to speak up because I'm afraid that everything will come out at once and I won't be able to control it. What are we afraid of letting out? And I worked with that person, and I actually said, well, why don't you work with me first? Tell me so that you can get things out to the point that when you could say them in the meeting, you'd be comfortable with it. And you would have gotten out the anger and that before you were in that room, if that's what you want. To find someone that you can trust, to let yourself really be you when you've been hiding it, is one of the best gifts you can get. That's what a great therapist does. That's what I do in spiritual counseling for people. You can bring me your ugly. You can bring me that stuff. And as long as we talk about it ahead of time, I can be strong enough to be there for you. That's what Arturo's done for me at times. Like, I'm really mad about something and I just need to be ugly and get it out. Can you just witness me? There is something about being witnessed that can be really helpful. Because what we're striving for is authenticity. And it's not just a magic thing, it's a daily practice of letting go who you've tried to be, who you're pretending to be, and embracing who you really are. Embracing who you really are. To be fully authentic. And I have a refrigerator magnet to remind me of this all the time, that it's a collection of choices that we make. Every day, we choose courage, compassion, and connection. It's the choice to show up and be real and honest and let the real you be seen. And that may be scary in some places, especially the workplace. That can be a really scary thing to do, to show up and be real. And let me tell you one place where I think you really do get to do that, and that is right here at Unity Northwest Church. This is a place where we come to work things out. This is a laboratory. This is a school. This is a place where when you're afraid to be who you really are, this is a safer place to try it, perhaps, than other places. And I hope that you'll do that. Let the real you continue to shine. And use that experience of how it feels when you are that so that you can take it into those places, which is often like an office meeting. I know work meetings can be one of the hardest places to be yourself, to say, you know, I see it a little bit differently. Can I share what I'm seeing? Gulp. But that's an authentic choice that we can make, that it allows us to bring forth some of our light. And you can test it, and I bet you'll be surprised at what the reaction is. That which we are so afraid of quite often is exactly what we need to share. And one of the quotes that she shares in the book is one that I really enjoyed. And I find more and more that E.E. Cummings is definitely someone that I need to look into, because over and over again, when I come across those quotes, it's like, yeah, that's what I needed to hear. So let me get myself back up and running here. I planned this so that I could imperfectly run the slideshow today, because it goes along with our topic. Seriously, folks. Brene says, I think that we should be born with one of those warning labels like they put on cigarette cases. Can you imagine? Caution. If you trade your authenticity for safety, you may experience the following: anxiety, depression, eating disorders, addiction, rage, blame, resentment, and inexplicable grief. That is a warning label that we want to listen to. Hiding ourselves can lead to some really difficult lives. So if any of those things ring true for you, you may take a look at, where am I hiding myself? Is that what is actually happening here? Was I taught, like most of us growing up, that it's not safe to be fully me, that it's not okay to be me? Most of us were taught that our emotions were not okay, our upset emotions. So it's not okay to be angry or concerned or to have a different opinion. Some of those things may have happened to you. And so we take those in and we grow up thinking that we're not enough, we're not right, we can't share our opinions, I shouldn't be angry, therefore I'm a bad person. And yet, what we heard last week when we looked at the Gospel of Matthew, that the passage that says, "Be ye perfect," actually is translated into "be ye complete." The advice from Scripture is to be complete in your own wholeness the way that God is complete. Not perfect, what we think of that word, but complete. So to be completely you. It's basically a Bible passage on be authentic, be you, have love and compassion for yourself, those places where you hide. And that is what our friend JD did when he shared about his journey. And so let's take a look at what real courage and compassion and connection looked like for JD when he shared in his TED Talk a few years ago about what it was like to live with depression and to come through an attempted suicide.
Happens when people try to assemble themselves back into life because of our taboos around suicide. We're not sure what to say, and so quite often we say nothing, and that furthers the isolation that people like John found themselves in. I know John's story very well because I'm John. And this is today the first time in any sort of public setting I've ever acknowledged the journey that I have been on. But after having lost a beloved teacher in 2006 and a good friend last year to suicide, and sitting last year at TED Active, I knew that I needed to step out of my silence and past my taboos to talk about an idea we're spreading. And that is that people who have made the difficult choice to come back to life need more resources and need our help.
This is often what it looks like for people suffering with depression. And not just with depression or mental illness, with any kind of aspect of ourselves that we don't want to show, like dyslexia or something. I'm scared I'll be judged. This could hurt my career. The people around me won't be supportive and understanding. There are so many messages, and some of them are true. Some of them are in fact true, that people may not be able to understand. But JD realized that he couldn't continue to live that way, and he was keeping his gift from others. And I myself have suffered with depression over the years. And I've never really shared that as publicly as on a Sunday video. So I'm sharing that now. That runs in my family. I have it, I don't even like to say under control, but I'm fine. And I have to watch myself and be careful. Depression and mental illness, so many people that I talk to, and mental illness isn't even a great phrase for it, because mental illness is really a continuum. We're all somewhere along that. We have days where it's really tough and we have days where it's really great. It's a spectrum, a continuum. And there are so many people that come to see me that this is one of their big secrets, one of their great shames. And when they tell me that, it's like this big sigh of relief. And usually I'll say, yeah, me too. I'm on that journey somewhere, maybe different from you, but I'm on it too. And I couldn't have said that 30 years ago, 20 years ago. Something about age does seem to help. Something about age. Because perfectionism is that 20-ton shield that Brene talked about, and we lug it around and we think it's protecting us, and it's really not. It becomes this burden and this thing that we just become hunched over with. Perfectionism. Like Brene, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I really thought I could get it. You'll even still catch me today say things like, I'm not perfect yet. My friends will joke, yet? You really think that's happening? Perfectionism, thinking that we're all supposed to be perfect all the time and not get anything wrong. And that's where compassion comes in. That when we're in this community of compassion, like at Unity, or when I have self-compassion, I can flub up in the world's view and know that I'm okay. I can make it right. It doesn't mean that anything goes, because part of this is connection. Sometimes authenticity today is being used to say anything goes. I can just blurt out and be as big a jerk as I want to because I'm authentic. But you're also connected to other people. And so you do need to consider, especially if you're talking about another person, how that comes across. So it doesn't mean that I just get to dump and tell you what an awful person you are. It means that, yes, I need to manage my reactions and my thoughts, but I need to know that you are another person and that I am connected to everybody, and I am called higher by spiritual teachings to have compassion for myself and others, not just for myself. That's where we get into trouble, because we're here for each other. And when perfectionism is driving us, shame is riding shotgun, and fear is that annoying backseat driver. Picture yourself in this car. You got this one over here and this one back here. Shame, shame. And so it's shame and fear that we sometimes have to face. And those are words that weren't in vogue until, in a way, Brene brought them around. That it started to be an important thing to talk about. Where is shame showing up? This feeling or experience, believing that we're flawed and unworthy. Where we believe that we're flawed and unworthy. And traditionally it's said, guilt is thinking that I did something wrong. Shame is believing that I'm wrong. For a long time in my life, one of the phrases that would come up all the time was, I'm a bad person. I hope that isn't true for you, but somewhere in my programming, I got that when I did something, I don't even like to say bad, but when I did something that wasn't skillful, I didn't use skillful means, I was a bad person. If I did that, I must be a bad person. And then that did lead to thinking that I was unworthy. So I literally had to work with getting those words out of my vocabulary. That phrase had to leave instead. So I did something and it didn't go great. I shared last week about my first professional audition, and another thing that happened to me was my first audition class that I took, monologue class. When I gave my monologue midway through the class, afterwards, I stopped. When I was done, the teacher asked me, how did that feel for you? And I said, I don't know. I was so busy worrying about what you all thought. And everyone in the room kind of gasped. I never actually went back to that class. I was so embarrassed. I was so filled with shame. And when I look back now, I see how connected that was. Worrying about what other people are thinking, letting them decide is not a way to live. And that brought shame, because guess what? You can't please everybody. I could have done the perfect monologue, the perfect Sunday service, the perfect meal, and there will be somebody it doesn't work for. So that must not be the answer. The answer must be somewhere in here, working on self-compassion. So shame is an important thing for us to know about and to handle when it comes up, because we can't selectively numb these emotions. If you try to numb the painful ones, you numb all of them. And so it's okay for us, because this is a safe place for us to talk shame. Because shame can't survive being spoken and being met with empathy. And that's what we do. We meet it with empathy. And Brene does something at the end of each chapter, encouraging us to dig deep. Not to dig in and overcome something this way, but to go, hey, I want to be deliberate and inspired in doing something about this to get going. Some things to think about this week. Where do you feel inauthentic? What stops you? Is it business? Is it meetings? Is it a certain group of friends? Is it when you're tired? What stops you? And what's one small thing you could do? For instance, that person that I worked with, one tiny thing for her to do in a meeting like that would have been to offer up an opinion. She might not choose to start with criticizing someone else's opinion, but to say, hey, I've got an idea, can I share that? Would have been huge for her. And I'm going to give you actually a couple of minutes here to think about this slide, to think about these questions, and to really ask yourself, is there a place where you're inauthentic? Identify that. What's the fear and shame coming from? And what else could you do? So take a moment to really think about this for yourself. I see for you that this week, this could be a little place where you take a step. I worked on this a lot when I was in seminary. I was on the school board, the student association, and believe it or not, that was a great place of learning for us. There was a lot of conflict at times, and that's where I started to learn how to be myself. Another great tool for you is something called the self-compassion test. And I have a link for this up at the top today. Take this test and see where you're at with your self-compassion. How are you doing with yourself? Is there a specific area where you could work on? Because it's broken down into 6 different areas. Take the self-compassion test. It starts with you. Because to live this life and to be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best night and day to make you everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight, and to never stop fighting. That's what it means to keep going in a world where that's not always so easy. And as we are in our summer of love, considering compassion, connection, myself back on. There we are. Perfection. I would love it if it was perfect every week. And doing a bunch of things on the computer, watching 2 monitors, bringing in music and an external speaker and all sorts of stuff. And so thank you for always understanding that, hey, that's sometimes how it goes. And I see that we have some wonderful shares that I want to add into what we've got here. So the chocolate chips were delicious. Yeah, we live in a world where to-do list doesn't always get to done. I love it when Anne quotes me. An authenticity of practice. Find someone you can trust to share who you are. That's such great advice, Jeanette, because you don't want to share it with someone where it's going to backfire for you. Working from home has been a godsend. Yeah, I think for a lot of us. And we were talking today that maybe we're a little more authentic these days. Look at that. That's exactly what Chris is saying. Not having to get fixed up and pretend, a lot less makeup. It's really interesting. This is a time of authenticity. And we've got another recovering perfectionist and a couple of video folks. I am not comfortable sharing that. Yeah, it's really hard. I want to take a moment on that one, Jeanette. It is really hard to share when you're upset in the moment. And one of the things that I've learned to do is to say, you know what? I notice that the energy has shifted for me right now. I'm wondering if anybody else notices it. So I take out, I'm upset and I'm whatever, but in a meeting or something, or even with an individual to say, you know what, I just want to pause for a minute. I'm noticing, so it's about me, I'm noticing the energy seems to have shifted. I'm wondering if you notice it. Something like that has helped me kind of get started in doing that. Show your childlike joy to the world more often than just on Sunday. Yeah, Anne has a great childlike joy, and you need to share that, girl. You need to share it with people. Al says that he's not conscious of it and that he's very authentic. Yeah, as Renee talked about, it's kind of a continuum. It's not necessarily on or off. And there are people that operate more at that end. And some of you are online with us today, and some of us aren't. And so some of us are working on that. So Hal is a great role model. You are probably the most authentic person I've ever met. I hope to be more like you at spreading my joy. Thanks, Anne. I really appreciate that. Put a magnet on your refrigerator. That did seem to help. And here's what I'll say about it is it was a conscious decision, recognizing that I wasn't doing it. And so for your summer of joy, I hope that it includes creating more appreciation for who you are and sharing more of that. And as I've said, the safest place to start is right here at Unity, because there are a whole lot of people waiting for your magic. There really are.
In my mind, in my heart, in my soul, in my life, I have been searching for something, but you were my dream. You're perfect. You're golden, your light, your love. You're perfect, you're golden, you're my light, my love. When I breathe and I swallow, caress I feel. When I listen, I hear those beautiful music out of nowhere. Oh, perfect. You're golden. You're light. You're love. You're perfect. You're golden. You're my light, my love. Die, 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 die. Die, 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 die. Die, 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 die. Die, 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 die. Die, die, die. Die, die, die. When rain set and dark, shallow and in doubt. When I'm trying my best to put one foot in front of the other. Oh, you're perfect. You're golden. You're the light of my life. You're my love from forever. In your reflection, I'm perfect. So I'll keep looking at you to keep witnessing my perfection. You is me. Oh, lie, die, 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 lie, die, 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 lie, die, die, die.
That is Jamie Lula. For those of you who hadn't heard Jamie before, he is just one of my favorites. Oh, here we have a couple more shares. Elena is getting over being late with my comment, which is I love the idea of baby steps. Yes, baby steps, always. Thanks, Tatiana. It's what you needed. I'm so great. Natural. You can all be real with me. Hi, Ames. It's great to see you again. And it's wonderful. You can use your skill to be yourself in writing and help others. Yeah, that is where Isabella shares so much of herself in her writing. Thank you to Richard. Good morning, Teddy. Got a little announcement about something that Teddy's working on. So now we have the opportunity to give generously into our church. Thank you for the donations that come into the church. We so appreciate them. And know that every donation makes a difference. 3 ways that you can give. You can give online. Right now, there is a button here on Facebook, on our webpage, and always on our Facebook homepage. You can send in a check. I know that works for some of you that don't do online banking. And if you do online banking, the best thing that you can do that would help the church would be to set up an automatic check to come to the church. So we save all those fees and you don't have to bother remembering. So all of the ways that we give, we are grateful for. Let's now bless this offering. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. So thank you for remembering to support the church in this time, even though we're not in person. A few quick announcements. We will continue to be on Facebook for the time being till we know more. Share Facebook posts. We have a class Tuesday. This is very exciting. Some of you may remember Jim Ware, who used to come to the church. He is going to be teaching Enneagram and spirituality. Enneagram is a personality type indicator, and it's been very helpful for me. I am a 9 on the Enneagram. I'm a peacemaker, so I don't like conflict, and I like to run away from it. Figuring that out has been very helpful. I hope that you can join. It's a love offering. This Tuesday, the Enneagram. Once you find out about it, you're going to hear it everywhere. It's very, very, I want to say popular. You'll find it a lot in spiritual places right now. So it's an ancient teaching. Please join us this Tuesday. The Zoom link will be sent out and will be on the, I think it's up above, and I don't remember if I put it up above today. It will be on our Facebook page. Please join us for the Enneagram. And women's group, we are going to be meeting next week, not tomorrow, but next week, Monday. We're going to have a check-in, see where everybody's at, make sure that we stay connected. I think I've used that word 500 times in this service. Please join us, women's group. I'll be on as well. We want to see where we go from here. I'm excited that I'm in a new booklet by Unity. I'm pretty sure I put this link above too. If not, it will be around. So you can get a copy of this book for free or for a small donation if you would like to support Unity. I have an article in this booklet and I'm very excited. Hope you take a look at it. Teddy Campanella is online with us right now, and she's sharing here that Teddy has been hard at work wanting to recognize our volunteers. So here's a message from her. So you can see what a kind, loving heart Teddy has. So this is Teddy, and Teddy is going to make sure that we're recognizing volunteers during this time. Starting this month, we're going to focus on one team a month, show their photos, learn a little bit about them, and say thank you for the ways that they volunteer. Also, in the coming weeks and months, we're going to be figuring out other ways for people to volunteer since we aren't in person right now. And our newsletter is coming out thanks to Ruth, who puts our newsletter. It will be coming to you in your e-blast. If you don't get the e-blast, make sure you sign up so that you can see all of our YouTube videos and get our e-blast. And be safe, everybody. Continue to wear those masks. Really, please. Next week, we're going to continue more Brene Brown, continuing on how to take these baby steps. We'll be on Zoom in just a minute after we get offline here. I hope that you can join us. And finally, please remember that you are amazing. You matter and you love. You are loved. Always, always. Do not let that ever leave you. And, I want to give a shout out over here. So we've got some excitement about what's coming up. A few people were having some trouble. Yay, women's group. Yay, the newsletter. Yay, everything that we do here. If you did have some technical difficulties today, it sounds like we've been running okay here. Other people are hearing and seeing, so it may be a bandwidth issue on your end, and I hope that it gets a little better for you. So have a wonderful week, everyone. I'm running a little long today. Not perfect, but exactly what it needed to be. And as we go, I leave you with this thought one more time. Be yourself, because there are a whole lot of people waiting for your magic. There are a whole lot of people that need whatever it is that's unique about you. So be you. Be you. It's what we need.